Hello viewers. Today I have a Honda HRR 2169, I believe, Honda push mower. And I thought I would share this, and I know on this channel predominantly do a lot of fans, and we do have some lawnmowers, as I'm also into mowers as well. The collection on the mower side is much more tame with only having a few mowers, but like the same idea with the fans. You know, I like to take a mower, service it, take care of it, and keep it as long as possible. And if something breaks, try to figure it out myself. And I've become quite knowledgeable, especially during the COVID times when all you had is really YouTube to kind of guide you through, and self-taught with a lot of things. I always could do simple tune-ups, but to go beyond that, I really self-taught myself. I've yet to tear one down and completely deal with the internals. I mean, I've torn one down that had failed just to understand how it works. That was a Briggs Stratton a number of years ago, but I haven't actually physically rebuilt one with the internals. That might be an experiment for an older lawnmower at some point. But today, this one I actually bought new in 2015. And I wanted one, maybe because it was just the era I grew up in, I wanted one that was non-self-propelled. And I went with Honda, even though I am kind of a, for the most part, for years, a diehard Briggs & Stratton type of guy. Always liked those old school 3.5 Briggs, and then, you know, the quantum motors that they came out with were, I liked those too, and I had experimented with some of those as we found on the side of the road or whatever for free, tuned them up and repaired them, and you know, as a project with my son, and not really sold them to make money, just more of just taking something old, freshening it up, and selling it for a couple dollars and letting someone else get some use out of it. So that's kind of how the hobby happened. And during COVID, you have nothing but time on your hands. So did a lot of that. But this one, when I bought, as I said, normally I was a Briggs & Stratton guy, but I guess I got frustrated because I had bought one prior to this about 5 years before, so 2010 or so, at Kmart of all places, which doesn't even exist anymore. I bought a Briggs & Stratton. It was probably about a 4.5 horsepower or whatever, 4.75 or whatever the designation was, but they don't measure it in horsepower any longer. And the rings went on it after 4 or 5 seasons, and that's after routinely tuning it up and taking care of it. The carburetor would need to be cleaned once a year, which is a real pain. I mean, it's easy to do, but it's a pain to have to think part of the tune-up process is to take the carburetor off and completely clean it out and put it back on. You should only have to do that every few years. So when that failed, I said, you know what, I need a new mower. And at that time in my life, I wasn't as confident in tearing a motor down and attempting to rebuild it. So I got upset and I said, where can I find a mower that will last a lifetime? And I knew none of the new mowers out there, yeah, if I serviced them all the time and dealt with the poor quality, I could make it last. But I wanted something that I would spend a little more money for, that was rock solid, and that would just run. So that's where this Honda came in. I've always known and respected these mowers. I just never had one. And I gotta say, it lives up to the hype. Absolutely lives up to the hype. On and off over the past, since 2019, I've used a riding mower, didn't this year. Check out that video and you'll understand my frustrations and why. So this is like the main mower here. The only downfall with these is, and I don't understand why, maybe it's even Honda cheaping out or whatever. As a kid, I felt like most mowers were 22 inches. And as time has gone on, it's been harder and harder to find 22-inch mowers. They're 21 inch, in some cases 20 inch. And if you see some of my other lawnmower videos, I have a weed eater, and I specifically call out it's a 22-inch. I got it for basically free, and it's older, but use that for some of the tougher areas in the lawn, where I need something lighter, something I can kind of throw around a little bit more, and if I ding it up a little bit, it's not the end of the world. This, in the beginning, I would have it sent out for service once a year, and then quickly I feel, why am I doing that? I service my other Briggs and Strattons. I can service this, air filter, change the oil, sharpen the blade. For those of you familiar with these, Honda has 2 blades, and I think that's what I was nervous about, was dealing with that. Couldn't be any simpler. Honda makes really good, solid products when it comes to these mowers. I don't know how the brand new ones are, but this like era, generation and older, I mean, this deck on this deck is how I feel like American made mowers were made in the 80s and before that. Now it's just the metal's so cheap, and they even put plastic in the front, like, so even the deck is not even all metal. And I am fascinated with electric mowers, and I think if I was just using one as more of a trim mower versus cutting the entire lawn, might consider that. But it's kind of like, well, this works fine, so why would I ditch it? The only thing that I ever really had any issue with this is I mistakenly, when I tilted it on its side to pull the blade off, I tilted it leaning towards the air filter, and fuel got into the air filter and spoiled the paper filter. And it was after I already had swapped the filter out. So in my mind, there was no issue with the filter. And even once a year when I swap it out, the filter is pretty much really clean. But the gas spoiled the filter, and I was unaware of that. And I would start it, it would run, it would backfire, it would sputter, and I thought it was flooded, let it sit, tried again. I changed the plug. You know, normally I don't change the plug every year. I'll clean it, just let it sit in some gas. And usually the plug looks really good anyway when I pull it out, especially on this Honda. So I was just really at wit's end because I don't know these like I know the Briggs and Stratton. So I felt like an idiot when I eventually figured out what the deal was, and it just turned out to be I spoiled the filter. This has the ability, as you can see on the front, 3-in-1 system. I don't understand what the 3 is. I understand what 2 is, mulch versus bag. If someone could shout out what the 3 is. It doesn't have a side discharge, and I thought typically when you get 3-in-1, that's what the 3 is, you know, side discharge, bag, or mulch. So if anyone knows in this case what that's for, that would be great to know. As you could probably pick up on camera, the rear tires are bald. The rear tires are bald, and the front ones look like they're on their way. I'll deal with that at some point, but to me, it's kind of like if I have traction, it's not self-propelled, so I'm not worried about the wheels spinning. And it's like if my sneakers have traction and I can push it, I'm kind of almost waiting for like a hole to appear in the plastic before I replace it. But I will definitely purchase OEM wheels on it because I do like the styling. So what I would like to do is do a quick, and just 1 second here. I thought the phone was ringing. So just a kind of quick walk around, if you will, which is kind of funny. It's like a car, but really the overhead valve there, you can see it's pretty clean. And I'm sorry, my camera work is not that great here. And one of the things I do every spring as well is I give it, I try to tune it up after the season's over, so it's kind of ready to go in the spring. It's kind of gives me something to do in the garage. But along with that is usually after the first mow in the springtime, And where I live, that's typically late April, unfortunately, or early May. What I do is, well, actually, when I'm servicing it, I do scrape the deck. After each time I cut the grass, depending on how, like if it's damp or whatever's going on, I take the hose underneath and just blow out if there's any clumping in there. I also, if it's one of those times where I know there's not clumping, I'm kind of in a hurry, I just take the leaf blower and just blow off the dust. It's very rare, unless it starts raining, that I put it away dirty. But as I was about to say, before I put it away after after the first mow of the year, and before I put it away, I hose the whole thing down. I use actual car wash on the deck and just, get it all sudsy and clean it really well. Sometimes I'll use simple green on the plastic wheels if it's grass stained. Dry it, and then I put a coat of turtle wax on the deck, on the handlebars, and just give it a good once over. Obviously, I don't wax underneath the deck because it would be kind of impossible to get it that clean to be able to wax it. But I do keep an eye out for any like rust spots or whatnot, in case I have to just maybe sand it and squirt it with some primer. So I know most people don't go about half that amount of trouble. They'll start their lawnmower up in the spring after they put it away in the fall, and they don't service it until it actually fails them. A bad plug, clogged air filter, maybe dirty carburetor, diaphragm, something like that. So I kind of proactively stay after it. With that being said, this thing I'll probably be handing this down to my son, unless I bend the crank or something like that on a rock or a stump, but I hope not to. And I'm obviously very careful. Even when people don't take care of these things, they're pretty durable as well. But as you can see, there's really no rust, just some scuffs on the sides of the deck from trimming along the foundation of the house maybe, or along something. So I'm going to give it a crank. I know it's going to make a liar out of me because typically it's a first pull and it starts, even if it's been sitting for a long time. So I'm going to give it a quick pull and let it just come up, and then I'll shut it off. For whatever reason, that's okay. That was in the middle a little bit. So it didn't make a liar out of me. It's a good mower, and I get that nice fresh smell. Well, anyway, if you like mowers, I have a couple on the channel, not too many. I have, I think, 2 more that I want to at some point do videos on. But certainly, if you are into other vintage items such as fans, other items we have on the channel, feel free to check that out. Make sure you like, comment, and we'll see you next time.